Hi guys, today we're looking at a digital microscope. I'll turn it on with this little button. This is an Andonstar AD246S-M. It comes with 3 lenses. I got it on Amazon for $178. I'll put a little target here so you have something to look at. Normally it's listed on Amazon for $240, and the lowest price it's been on Amazon over the last 6 months or so is it's been sold for $135. It takes 12 megapixel still pictures, 4032 by 3024, and it also takes 4K video. It's an all metal base with metal columns, and you can adjust it horizontally and vertically and in and out and twist it. It's pretty versatile that way, and it seems to be incredibly well made. It comes with a remote control, which is actually pretty necessary because although you can control it with all of these buttons on the front, if you try to take a still picture, you will absolutely cause vibration and the pictures won't come out that good. Whereas if you take a still picture with the remote, things should be nice and stable. It defaults to coming on in video mode, which is in right now. So if I press the OK button, like this, it's now taking a video and it's showing the seconds in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And if I press the OK button again, it ends the video. And then there's a mode button here, and if I press the mode button, that switches it to still photography mode, and now it will take a 12 megapixel picture. Ironically, you don't do that with the OK button. You have to hit the little picture button at the top. So that just took a 12 megapixel photo of that quarter. Here's a close-up picture of the remote control. It doesn't come with batteries, but they were just AAA's. Took 2 of them, no big deal. With a little help from the manual, here's a label of what all of the buttons do. Some of them are pretty obvious and some of them not so much. Zooming is all digital zooming, and I haven't noticed much difference when I play with the contrast, or rather the sharpness. The contrast does something. Inverse is kind of handy, so if you have an upside down image you can just flip it that way. But the manual which comes with it does a fairly good job of explaining all of these different things. The lights on the side are adjustable, and so this little connected remote, the top button powers it on and off, but the other 2 buttons adjust the intensity of the light. So I'm turning the light down now a few steps, and here I can turn it up a few steps. So that can come in handy. They're on little goosenecks, so you can move them around to get the shadows that you want on whatever you're photographing. It comes with 3 lenses. The A lens is on it right now, and they advertise that as being with a working distance of 12 millimeter to 320 millimeter. Microscope wise, they say the power is 18 power to 720 power. Now ironically, the power doesn't equate at all to normal photography and macro photography. So for instance, if I raise this up to the top, you get a good focus on it. It'll take me a minute. Now you see that a quarter is basically filling the frame. Now a quarter is roughly 24 millimeters in diameter, and so that would be roughly the same size as 1-to-1 macro photography on a full frame 35 millimeter or mirrorless or digital camera. So this would be 1x, whereas this lens is listed as 18x for the minimum magnification. Now if I lower it, I can increase the magnification, obviously, and I can get way down here and refocus. And we'll try to get some lettering there. And get a nice focus on that. Now, that probably, I'm guessing, would be 5 or 6 times the size of the other video, so that would be like a 5x macro photography. whereas the specification would say that's 720x. So you have to take the magnifications for microscopes with a grain of salt when you compare them with digital photography and macro lenses. They're not really equivalent. Now let me substitute a different lens. I'll just raise this up so it's more convenient to work on it. There's two little screws on the side. You have to take them both out completely, not partially. And then the lens just drops out. And you can see it's got some sort of a tinted reddish picture to it, or film covering, and it's basically plastic. I'll just set that to the side. The lenses come packaged in a little box in a Ziploc bag. This is the L lens, and it claims the object distance is 90 millimeters to 300 millimeters. Now those are accurate numbers. So again, we just fit that in the bottom, and you have to put the little screws in. And yes, the lens mount is pretty flimsy. It's not like you're having all metal lens and a bayonet mount on an expensive camera. But again, we should be able to focus on this quarter. And you can see I have increased the magnification a little. Now this lens claims that it's 60 power to 240 power. So if I take it to the top, there you can see that it's somewhat in the range of the first lens, because the first lens could obviously get that same magnification. However, at that working distance, that might be more useful. And I'll lower this down and try to get as close as we can. Again, this one says that 90 millimeters is the minimum distance there, so we'll honor that and go up to about 90 millimeters. Let's see if we can focus. And indeed we can. So again, you can see the range of this lens, even though this one is advertised of having a magnification of 60 to 240, it really is that. It's a subset of the range of the other lens, which is kind of a strange combination, but you know, it is what it is, and it works fine. So let me replace it with the high magnification lens. Again, I have to remove these silly little thumb screws. And these thumb screws are not tapered, so when I set that on the table, it will roll away or roll on the floor. So you have to be careful of them. Now this last lens is the smaller of the bunch, physically smaller. And this is called the D lens, and its object distance is listed as 4 millimeters to 5 millimeters. And they're serious about that. That seems to be pretty accurate. So indeed, you can't focus this lens unless you're 4 millimeters away from the subject or 5 millimeters. So you have very little range. So it's going to be hard to get down close to this quarter to get a focus on it. That might do. There you go. So that's as good as we can focus on this little bitty section, and all you can see it now is the scratches on the quarter. So this is actually made for taking pictures of slides, for a slide, like slides on a microscope. And they supply you with a few slides. And you notice how much this jiggles. There's no way you could take a good picture, again, by using those buttons. You have to use the remote control, which is in photo mode now, so we took a 12 megapixel photo. Now it comes with this mechanism to hold slides, and it comes with some sample slides. This cute little packet with sample slides. And what's neat about this device is it's got a little DC connector in the back, and the same cable that powers these two gooseneck LED lights will supply this slide holder. So if I pull this out and unplug it, and indeed plug it into here, there's a light in there that can light up your slide, and you'd have to raise the microscope up a ways to clear the slide. Put that on the surface, and you could mount slides there and focus on very small objects. And if you on YouTube do a search for an Andonstar, you'll find lots of examples of people showing you the pictures from the slides. I won't bother with that. I'll just unplug this, plug it back in to the back, and we get our normal lights back. It also comes with these little brackets, and there's holes back here to mount them on, and that's for holding something down like you would on the platen of a microscope. But again, my use for this is for macro photography and taking pictures of things like feathers and bugs and stuff like that. Again, let me put the quarter back in so you have something to see. And again, we'll never see it with this lens. We have to go back to a normal lens. So this will take a second or two. I'll put it in the bag to keep it dust free. And I'll insert the A lens in it. It comes shipped with the A lens installed in this, which is kind of silly because to put the assembly together, you have to mount it through this aluminum hole, and so the first thing you have to do is to take these two thumb screws out and take the lens off to put it through the hole and then put it back on. So they really should have set all three lenses separately, but they didn't. And we should be able to focus on that quarter. Now if you try to focus with this big knurled ring on the plastic, the backlash is unbelievable. It's almost a 16th or an 1/8 of a turn of backlash. You can't really get an accurate focus, but fortunately there's another big knob to raise the whole unit up and down, and that actually allows you to get a nice crisp focus, at least at these magnification levels. So now let me show you some of these parts. I'll do a better close-up of this remote control. And again, there's lots of reviews on this on the web. Most of the users who have these microscopes use them for soldering and desoldering circuit boards and micro miniature components. So I'll turn this sideways so you can see the mechanism. This is all fairly well made. You can loosen this knob up to go up and down. You can loosen this knob up to go in and out. It's a little clunky, but it's well made. It's not like an easy thing to ratchet it around. I'll tighten both of those. This is kind of a handy collar, so if you're worried about it falling when you have it loose, you can set a fixed depth and just tighten that up wherever you want. And I've used that a lot. This knob here is real handy for moving the whole thing up and down, and that allows you to get a really good focus. The knob here is also a focus, so the two of them work together, but this gets you better fine control than that one does. And again, there's a knob here to determine how tight or loose that is, so you could lock it in or make it hard to turn or make it easy to turn. You can also, when this isn't too tight, you can swing it from side to side. Now right now it's swinging for the wrong reason. It's actually turning the whole column. this column screws into this base. And there's one more nut over here, or bolt I should say. And if you loosen that, you can actually tilt the whole column. Now when you tilt the whole column, depending on the height you have here, it'll tend to fall over. And so you have to be careful. But if you needed to take a horizontal shot, it's certainly possible to lay this down and deal with it horizontally on some target other than the platform. Now the platform and the columns and everything is all metal, and these LED gooseneck lights work pretty good, and they're fairly easy to turn and adjust. I hope I never have to replace an LED in them, but we'll see when they do how hard it is. It's well made. I have to give them credit for that. I'll give you a close-up of the controls up here, but basically you can go through the whole menu system and the modes and do everything from the front. Now on the back, and I'll raise this up just for convenience. And on the back here, there's a little slot in here for a micro SD card. There's two lights that come on. I have no idea what they mean. If I adjust the lights bright or dim, it doesn't seem to matter. And if I turn it on or off, they just both go off. So I'll turn it back on. I don't understand the significance of the red and the blue both. This connector here is a micro USB connector, and it goes to a standard USB-A connector on the end of this cable, which I plugged in for power. You can also power it off battery packs, which I've done, but I have it plugged into a USB device. Now if you hook this to your computer, and I do have it hooked to the computer right now, it does not allow you to take pictures or access the data on your computer. You have to use a different cable for that. They supply a regular USB-C to USB cable, and when you hook that into it and then hook that to your computer, then you can download files instead of removing the micro SD card and doing it the hard way. On a Mac, you don't have, there's software that you can get online to do measuring and stuff with this device, but it only works on Windows PC, not on a Mac. On a Mac, you just have two choices. One, to see it as an external device and get files off, and the other choice doesn't do anything on a Mac, and that's because they really don't support Macs. But that's okay. All I really want to do is get the videos and the files off this device and onto the computer. Here's a close-up of the back of the device. You see the micro SD card in the slot on the left. Apparently there's 3 lights, although I've only seen 2 of them light up, and I have no explanation for what the lights mean. Next to that is the micro USB slot, which they supply 2 different connectors, both with an angled head so they're easy to connect. And then next to that is the USB port. Now the USB outputs 1080 HD video, whereas supposedly the recorded image can be up to a 4K video. Here's a picture with the micro USB plug inserted where it normally stays all the time. Well, that's it guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.